Welcome to the wonderful world of faith, one of 7 worlds in 7 World Productions, a subsidiary of Angelgram Music. My name is Geno, and I am the sole owner of Angelgram Music, as well as executive director of 7 World Productions. In this new year of 2022, in this world we're going to start a new series called In Search of Faith. We're going to delve into the meaning of the word faith, the many different faiths that there are. What is this whole idea of having faith in human relations? And we're going to discuss these in a manner in which we invite everyone to participate and comment. And so, without further ado, we will start with the brief history of the word faith and how we're going to present all of the many facets of what this word really means. Hope you enjoy it. In Search of Faith. Faith. In this first episode of this new series here in the wonderful world of faith, we're going to be talking about what this word actually means. And in general, we'll talk about not only what it means, but its origins. We'll talk about the stages of faith. We'll talk about different religious views, the Baha'i faith, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, Sikhism, as well as the epistemological validity, which is known as fideism and support and criticism. Criticism being synonymous with atheism. Now we're going to be talking about all these things in this this is a brief outline today, but each one of these sections will be several episodes devoted to each one of those so that we can fully immerse ourselves in what this strange phenomenon called faith really is, and perhaps together between us we can discover what it means for us personally and to go forward in life with it. Now, before we go on with the first part, which is the meaning of the word faith, I want to talk to you about what is really going on here in our minds. We are sentient beings. That is, we have senses that we collect information, and we have brains in which we process that information, and we have several things that are going on. First of all, we have the input of data from our sensories. Our senses are sight, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and feeling. We have 5 senses, and so those are important because what we do is we take that information, and in the processing center of our brain, we put them together to store and to require us to remember. And we have the ability in remembering to recreate the impressions that we got from the sensory input. And there's a value there in doing that because it seems as if we live in a universe that is constantly changing, but that there are certain things that keep happening over and over again. And so we want to be able to protect ourselves in order to survive. We have to be able to remember certain things so that they can be valuable to us in keeping us alive. A simple example is the touch of fire. If you put your hand into a fire, it will burn. You'll feel it, you'll see it, you'll smell it. All of those senses will record the fact that that's not a good thing. And so you will remember it, and every time you see fire from that day forward, you will be able to predict that if you put your hand in it, it will hurt. And so you will refrain from doing that. This enables you to survive. And I think that this is basically what we do as human beings. And until we know that it burns, we can say to ourselves, well, we have faith that if we put our hand in there, it will burn. Or we can have faith that says, oh, it's not going to burn. I can put it in there. And so until the action is actually done, we have faith. So that's what we do as human beings. When we don't know something, we have faith in one or the other. We have faith in that it will be thus and thus, or it will be that and that, or this and this. Until it's proven that the earth is round, we believe it to be flat. So much so that even religious scholars made other people swear up and down that the earth was flat. And yet it became known years later that it is not flat, it is round. So this is, I think, the way we human beings operate. When we don't know something, we have to have faith. If we don't have faith, and if we don't have the correct information, it is madness. It will drive us crazy. We will not be able to tolerate it. And life needs to be tolerated because the principal concept of life is to attain immortality. Life wants to be immortal. It wants to go on forever and ever. Hence, that's why we eat, in order to reproduce, in order to have more and more humans, and this way life will continue. Trees do it, animals do it, germs do it. Everybody does it. They all eat and they all reproduce. Why? Because life wants to be eternal. Now, you can almost call that a faith of a kind. And yet there doesn't seem to be any proof otherwise. It seems as if everything can be boiled down to those two things. You have to eat and you have to reproduce. And so life wants to be eternal. And that's what I think our brains are equipped to do. And this is why we have faith. And this is why we constantly have to correct our faith. We have to upgrade it, as we say in the modern language of computers. We have to have upgrades. We have to have revisions, because we're constantly acquiring more and more information. And as we store this information, in order to protect ourselves, we have to throw away the old and welcome in the new. And just as we are now engaged in starting a new year, we thought here at the World of Faith and Seven World Productions that we would start this new concept of In Search of Faith. And that's what this series is going to be called, and that's what it's going to be about. So now that I've given you a little brief history about what we're going to try to do, let's talk about the word faith itself. It's derived from the Latin word fides, F-I-D-E-S, and the Old French word fide, F-E-I-D. It's a confidence or a trust in a person, thing, or concept. And in the context of religion, one can define faith as belief in God or in the doctrines or teachings of religion. Religious people often think of faith as confidence based on a perceived degree of warrant, while others who are more skeptical of religion tend to think of faith as simply belief without evidence. And so that is sort of the etymology. That's a word that means the beginnings and the origins of a certain word. And that's what faith is. The English word faith is thought to date from 1200 to 1250, from the Middle English faith, via the Anglo-French fed, Old French feet, from the Latin fidem, accusative of fides, which is trust, and akin to fidere. Both of those are Latin words having to do with trust. So, in essence, our faith is something that we trust. And we have to trust it. This is what keeps us from madness, from insanity. And we have to keep it until we can change it with the necessary additional sensory input from our senses. A very wonderful thing is happening here at the beginning of 2022. We've got a new telescope that's going up into geosynchronous orbit out at a point 1,000,000 miles from the Earth, which is called the Lagrange point, where the gravity is equal between the Earth and the Sun and the Moon, so that the telescope will remain stationary. In essence, not stationary, but moving in tandem with everything else around us that's moving, but in such a manner so that it will always be in the same distance between those planets. That way we can orient the lens of the new telescope to wherever we would want. Scientists are now saying we'll be able to see all the way back to the Big Bang. Wow, that's quite a statement, that we'll be able to see other planets and other solar systems and galaxies. So this is almost like Copernicus and Galileo, when they first took their telescope and told the church, no, the Earth is not the center of the universe, and the Earth is round, it isn't flat. Yes. So many things can happen from this now. There are so many things that are now in the forefront of our scientific knowledge. We're talking about nuclear fusion on the forefront, which means having the power of the sun artificially made here on the planet so that we could have energy that is boundless. We won't have blackouts. and that's just one thing. There's all kinds of advances that are happening both in biology, astronomy, rocketry. Look at the new rockets that they're going to be making. They're making them so that you'll be able to go to Mars faster and go to the moon faster. We're going to have a moon colony very shortly. In the next decade, I think we'll have people permanently living on the moon. And then in the following decade, we'll have people permanently living on Mars. So we're expanding, and this is what is all about us humans. Life wants to be eternal, and we have to do that by expanding. We've been expanding since we came out of the cradle of Africa, and so this is not new. This is an ongoing concept and ingrained in our DNA. This is what we do, and along with that, we have faith. We have faith that we'll be able to do these things. Number one, we have confidence and trust in this thing that we call scientific advancement. And so with that, we conclude our first episode of In Search of Faith. Our next episode will be dealing with the stages of faith development. We'll talk about the 7 stages that you go, actually 6 stages that you can go through in order to have faith. And we'll talk about some people that have come up with these ideas, and little by little we'll get to know more and more about this entire concept called faith. Until then, go and be inspired. If you like this episode, click like and leave comments so that we can discuss this further. Also, if you'd like, please subscribe, and that way you'll receive email notifications of future episodes in this world and other worlds. Try out our other worlds, the wonderful world of art, the world of books, the world of food, the world of family, the world of games, and the world of music. Go and be inspired.